He never grunted, never posed in the mirror, never wore tank tops with slogans, just faded gray sweats, worn boxing gloves, and the same heavy bag in the back corner. The young guys called him Pops and wondered why he was even there. Then one morning, a ranger instructor watched him work the bag for exactly 3 minutes and immediately knew. This wasn't just some retired guy trying to stay fit. This was something else entirely. Welcome to Silent Legends. Before we begin this story of discipline, forgotten battles, and silent warriors, tell me in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you believe these stories deserve to be remembered, hit that subscribe button and help us keep these legends alive. The gym opened at 5 a.m. sharp, but James was always there at 4:50, waiting by the glass doors with his old duffel bag slung over one shoulder. He never complained about the wait, never checked his phone, just stood there quietly, watching the sunrise paint the parking lot orange. Inside, he'd walk straight past the new equipment, past the cardio machines with their built-in TVs, past the free weights where the younger guys would soon be flexing and filming. He went to the back corner where the oldest heavy bag hung, the one with duct tape holding the leather together, the one nobody else wanted. He wore the same thing every time: faded gray sweatpants, a plain black t-shirt that had seen better days, and boxing gloves so worn the padding was compressed flat. No gloves with brand names, no fancy wraps, just simple cloth hand wraps that he'd wind with the same methodical precision every single morning. The gym staff knew him as the quiet old man who paid cash 6 months in advance and never caused trouble. Marcus, the young trainer who opened most mornings, would nod at him. James would nod back. That was their entire relationship. What Marcus didn't know, what none of them knew, was that James's hands, the ones he wrapped so carefully each morning, had once been registered as weapons. That his 3-minute rounds on that heavy bag followed a pattern that wasn't from YouTube tutorials or boxing classes. It was from somewhere else, somewhere most people would never see. Sergeant First Class Martinez had been coming to this gym for 2 weeks. He was home on leave, between deployments, and the civilian gym was driving him crazy. Too many people taking selfies, too much loud music, too many guys spending more time talking than training. But he kept coming because it was close to his sister's house where he was staying. That Tuesday morning, Martinez arrived earlier than usual. The gym was nearly empty. Just him, the young trainer at the desk, and one other person in the back corner. The old man with the heavy bag. At first, Martinez didn't pay attention. He set up his own workout, started his warm-up routine. But then he heard it. Thud, thud, thud. Pause. Thud, 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 thud. Pause. The rhythm was too precise, too controlled. Martinez had trained with enough combat fighters to recognize the difference between someone working out and someone drilling technique that had been burned into muscle memory decades ago. He glanced over. The old man's footwork was perfect, not flashy, not bouncy like a boxer, economical. Every movement served a purpose. His breathing was controlled, measured, and his strikes, they weren't powerful haymakers. They were short, brutal, close-range shots designed for confined spaces. Martinez stopped his warm-up completely and watched. The old man worked in exactly 3-minute rounds with 1-minute rest periods. During rest, he didn't check his phone or grab water. He just stood there, hands on hips, breathing controlled, eyes distant, like he was somewhere else entirely. Then Martinez saw it. When James reached up to adjust the heavy bag, his shirt sleeve rode up, revealing his forearm. There, faded but unmistakable, was a tattoo. Not a skull, not a flag, not a motivational quote. A number, and a small symbol. Martinez's breath caught. He'd seen that symbol before, in a history briefing about units that operated before special operations were even officially recognized, units that didn't exist on paper. Martinez waited until James finished his round. He approached slowly, respectfully, the way you approach a senior NCO, even out of uniform. "Excuse me, sir," Martinez said quietly. James turned, no surprise in his eyes, just calm assessment. He'd known Martinez was watching for the last 10 minutes. "Help you with something?" James asked, his voice gravelly but steady. Martinez hesitated, then gestured to the heavy bag. "Your hand placement, your breathing pattern, that's not civilian training." James unwrapped his hands slowly, deliberately. "Lot of people train, Not like that, Martinez pressed gently. I'm Army Ranger Regiment. I've trained with the best close-quarters combat instructors we have. What you're doing, that's older. Different. James looked at Martinez for a long moment, measuring something. Then he asked, "What battalion?" "Second, sir." A flicker of something crossed James's face. Respect, maybe. Memory. "Good unit." "Thank you, sir." Martinez paused. "That mark on your forearm, I recognize the unit designation. You were forward reconnaissance, pre-SOCOM era." James finished unwrapping his hands, folded the wraps precisely, and placed them in his bag. That was a long time ago. 76 to 89? Martinez guessed. James gave the faintest nod. Among other years. Martinez knew better than to push, but he couldn't help himself. My instructor, Master Sergeant Williams, he once told us about an old unit that specialized in close-quarters combat in urban environments. Places where you couldn't use weapons, had to go completely silent. He said those guys were ghosts. Said most of their operations never made it into any official record. James zipped his bag slowly. Your Master Sergeant talks too much. But there was the ghost of a smile on his face. Martinez came back the next morning, and the morning after that. Each time he'd set up near the back corner, not intruding, just present. On the fourth morning, James spoke first. You're wasting your leave watching an old man hit a bag. Martinez shook his head. With respect, sir, I'm learning more watching you train for 20 minutes than I learned in my last 3 combatives courses. James raised an eyebrow. What are you learning? Economy of movement. That every strike should end a threat, not just hurt it. That fighting isn't about being strong or fast. It's about being efficient. James studied him for a moment, then made a decision. Show me your stance. For the next 30 minutes, James didn't tell war stories or talk about his past. He simply corrected Martinez's form, adjusted his breathing, showed him how to generate power from positions where there was no room to wind up. Where did you learn this? Martinez finally asked. James paused, his hands on the heavy bag. Places where if you made noise, people died. Where you had 30 seconds to neutralize a threat before their backup arrived. Where the mission brief said close quarters only and meant it. How many operations? Stop counting after the first year. Wasn't about the number. James looked at Martinez directly. It was about the people who made it home because we did our job right. A week later, on Martinez's last day before returning to his unit, James did something unexpected. After their early morning session, James reached into his duffel bag and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside was a coin, heavy, old, with a unit insignia that Martinez had only seen in classified historical documents. This is from a unit that doesn't exist in any official record, James said quietly. We didn't have names, didn't have medals, didn't have ceremonies. We had each other, and we had the mission. He placed the coin in Martinez's hand. You remind me of the young guys I trained with. You don't fight for glory, you fight because someone has to. James's voice was steady but carried weight. Keep that. Not as a trophy. As a reminder, the most important fights are the ones nobody ever hears about. Martinez looked down at the coin, then back at James. Sir, I can't accept this. This is yours. I've carried it long enough, James said simply. Time someone else understood what it means. Martinez came to attention instinctively, a gesture of respect that crossed all service boundaries. James nodded once, picked up his bag, and walked toward the exit. Martinez stood there for several minutes after James left, the weight of the coin in his palm feeling heavier than it should. Marcus, the young trainer, walked over. Everything okay, man? Martinez looked at him. That old man who comes in every morning? What do you know about him? Marcus shrugged. James? Nice guy. Quiet. Been coming here for like 8 years. Always pays cash, never misses a day. Why? You know what he did before? No idea. Always figured he was maybe a construction worker or something. Why? Martinez looked back at the empty corner, where the old heavy bag still swayed slightly. Just wondering. That night, Martinez did something he wasn't supposed to do. He called a friend who worked in military archives and asked him to dig, carefully, quietly, into records from the late 70s and 80s, units that operated in areas where operations weren't officially acknowledged. 3 days later, he got a call back. "I can't tell you everything," his friend said carefully, "but I found a reference. Small unit, maybe 15 guys total across 10 years. They did urban reconnaissance and direct action in denied areas, the kind of places where if they got caught, the government would deny they existed. Any names? All redacted. But there's one entry from 1983. A mission report, mostly blacked out, but there's a line at the end. Asset demonstrated exceptional close-quarters combat proficiency under extreme conditions. Recommended for commendation. Request denied to maintain operational security. Asset remains in rotation." Martinez felt a chill. Nothing else? Just a note in the margin, handwritten, "This one's a ghost. Keep him that way." James continued his routine. Every morning at 4:50 a.m., waiting by the glass doors. 3-minute rounds on the heavy bag. Methodical, precise, silent. But now, when Martinez was home on leave, he'd join him. Not training together exactly. James didn't teach, didn't instruct, but present. Two warriors from different eras, connected by an understanding that civilians would never grasp. The young guys at the gym still called James Pops. They still wondered why he was there. But Martinez knew. And occasionally, when another veteran would walk in and notice James's footwork, his breathing, the way his hands moved with deadly precision even at 70 years old, they'd watch quietly, recognize something familiar, and give a respectful nod. No words needed. Some legends don't need to be spoken. They just need to be witnessed. Some men teach through speeches. Others teach through presence. James never told war stories, never showed his medals, if he even had any, never asked for recognition. He just showed up every morning and demonstrated that discipline, precision, and honor don't retire just because you do. The most dangerous men aren't the ones who talk about what they've done. They're the ones who don't need to. So tell me, have you ever encountered someone whose quiet discipline suggested a deeper story? Someone whose movements, whose bearing, whose eyes told you they'd seen things most people never would? Share their story in the comments below. Let's make sure these silent legends aren't forgotten. If this story moved you, subscribe to Silent Legends and help us honor those who never asked to be honored. Until next time, remember, the loudest victories are often the quietest ones.